Hello,
Yo,
I am Desmon Palmer with First and 10 Sports. This is our first annual NFL draft special. And what a draft, what a year of the draft to start with the special. With 2014, like I said, I'm Desmond Palmer. I'm here with Seth Guttman. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing all right, man. It's been 2 weeks, way too long. It's overdue. We need this draft to get here already.
And I'm also here with Chris Marcotrigiano, another good friend, another good member of the staff. How are you doing?
Pretty good, man. I mean, it's time to cut through all the stuff we've been hearing all day. We've been hearing the craziest rumors, right? We've been hearing that the Giants are interested in Johnny Manziel.
Yeah.
I didn't think we'd ever hear that.
There's no chance.
That's what happens when you have too much time on your hands. But we're finally getting down to it.
And with the NFL, with the rumors, well, not even rumors, reports going around that the NFL is thinking about pushing it back even further. The last thing we need is the NFL draft to be even further away, because we might just hear even more made-up stories as it goes along. But it's finally here. It is draft day. We are about 20-something minutes away. I'm not a math genius, guys. I'm just saying that. But
22 minutes and 55 seconds, actually.
yeah, Chris goes to NYU, so you're gonna get that.
No, I'm just watching the broadcast. It's fine.
Oh.
Yeah, they actually have a countdown in the corner if you're watching on ESPN. I'm actually disappointed because both you guys know, and anyone that follows me on Twitter, I absolutely hate ESPN. But unfortunately, as I can actually show you guys right here, my NFL network is frozen. I go to school.
Well,
I go to school at SUNY Delhi, and I think they just wanted me to have the pain and torture of having to listen to this.
Well, it's like the door hitting you on the way out, right? Like, let's congratulate Seth on his acceptance to.
Luckily for our guest, you will be watching the draft and streaming us at the same time. So this is basically one big virtual draft party. We're bringing you the stats. We're bringing you what our analyst, Seth Guttman himself, he did a mock himself. Harris Uden, one of our special NFL writers, he did a mock from the viewpoint of GMs, which is very interesting. So we'll reference that as well. Harris couldn't be with us today. We're sorry about that because it would have been more fun to have Harris, but we have the three amigos here today. We have Chris, Seth, and Desmond, so I don't think that should hurt by any means. But if you are watching today, which I hope you are, go tweet at us at D3SP4, at C Marcotrigiano, at Raven Nation 21, or at first_10 sports, and let us know your thoughts during the draft. While we're doing this pregame right now, let us know what you think. Any questions you have, you can comment in the Q&A. We'll read all the tweets, all the questions. I do like memes, but in this case, I cannot share memes. So if you have any Johnny Manziel memes, you may have to share that with me after the show. But
well, I mean, I could technically, like, if you send it to our Twitter, I mean, I could kind of show you, like, on my phone or whatever, but, you know.
Oh, and just to let you guys know, we are analysts, but we are fans as well. Chris and I share the same love for the New York Football Giants for years now.
The same pain.
Yes, that as well. Every painstaking interception has been felt between these two hearts, as well as
Saw that eye roll there, Seth.
Is a Ravens fan, if you could not tell.
So, I think I'm more of a Jaguars fan, actually.
Yeah. So this hat, as you can see here, is going to go to the side now for the first pick at number 12, or hopefully if the Giants move up and get a certain guy that stands 6 feet tall, 230 pounds, and plays the wide receiver position, but we'll get to that later.
That Mike Evans?
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about
you first. The Houston Texans are on the board first. There have been reports coming out that it's definitely Jadeveon Clowney. Oh, wait, no, it's Johnny Manziel. Oh, wait, no, it's Jadeveon Clowney. Seth, in your mock, you were very clear about who they're going to take or what's going to happen. Let the viewers know your view on what the Texans are going to do with the first overall pick of the 2014 NFL Draft.
Well, I feel like what I wrote down in the article is pretty much what I think is the sentiment of a lot of people. They don't think it's going to be Johnny Manziel. They don't think it's going to be Bridgewater. They don't think it's going to be Bortles. I have them trading out of the pick, which there have been reports today. You don't know what to take out of it. It could be smokescreen. It could be a negotiating tool. But I think that there's a very strong chance that if the price works out, the Falcons, who traded up a few years ago to get Julio Jones, would be looking up to trade up for Jadeveon Clowney at the #1 pick in the draft. I personally think if the Texans stay put, it'll probably be Clowney, but I have a strange feeling, and this is maybe just because in 2006 everyone thought it was either, surefire Vince Young or surefire Reggie Bush, and then it was Mario Williams. So don't be completely shocked if it's Khalil Mack. I'm just saying, don't be shocked.
And that's something that came out as well. Khalil Mack is a name that has been surfacing, and we kind of got the vibe of how good this class is outside of quarterbacks. There's a elite 7, as Mel Kiper likes to put it, the 3 tackles, the linebacker and Jadeveon Clowney, Mike Evans, Sammy Watkins. So that right there, and Todd McShay came out and said he heard reports that Khalil Mack is not getting out of the top 5. So that is definitely something in play. One of the more he's one of the more impressionable linebackers in this class in regards to just skill. He didn't play in a big conference, played at the University of Buffalo.
Yeah, he actually played at a SUNY. He played at a SUNY, which is pretty cool for us.
Shout out to Khalil Mack playing at a SUNY, showing that SUNY love. I go to SUNY or Westbury. Shout out to them as well. We don't have a football team, unfortunately. But with that said, Chris, Houston Texans, first on the board. They went 2-14 last year. 1-5 in the AFC South, 2-10 in the AFC. Who do you see them taking, and can they make that immediate impact to turn this team around?
Well, you got to look at a guy like Clowney, right? You got to think that he's the guy. He's the most dominant guy on the board. I think in reference to Seth's point about maybe the Falcons trading up to get into that #1 pick, the Redskins set a dangerous precedent last year, and this is trading up from the 6 to the 1. I don't have no idea what they would even have to give up to do that. Reports have been coming out that that's not going to happen.
Like I actually saw, if you excuse me for a second here, but sure. I saw a report earlier that originally they wanted exactly what the Redskins got for RG3, but then they may have lowered their price tag to, I think it was a first this year, a second and a third this year, and then a first next year.
Right.
Which, it's still a lot to give up. But I mean, it's definitely not three first-round picks.
Yeah, it's a lot to give up, and you gotta think they did that once before with Julio Jones. Granted, he's a very good player, but at the same time, where has that really gotten you? You now have the 6th pick in the draft. You haven't had much success. I feel like I buy into the Giants' philosophy of keeping your picks and kind of just making the best pick that you can. I don't know. I just think that kind of maneuvering is dangerous. If I was the Texans, I'd keep the pick. I'd take Clowney because then you got a really scary front 7.
Yes,
right. Yeah,
and that's something that we also discussed. Everyone has discussed via Twitter, via whatever social media you use, or word of mouth to your friend. The fact of the matter is, if you can pair Jadeveon Clowney with a J.J. Watt, who is the consensus, I think we can all agree, probably the most fearsome and most physically gifted defensive player we have right now. You can pair those two with a Jadeveon Clowney who might come into the league and be the most physically gifted athlete in the NFL. Just off of physical tools alone, that would be scary if you're the opposing quarterback. And why not have that type of line when you have an Andrew Luck in your division who is just raining down on you? And Seth, we know how much you love Andrew Luck.
Yep. The problem with Andrew Luck and the Colts, and this could definitely, I mean, if they want to take Clowney, they don't trade down. Even Khalil Mack, I mean, that Colts offensive line has been a problem for a long time. They're not picking in the first round, so they're not going to get like a really impactful offensive lineman unless they trade up. So that could be a really interesting thing because, like you said, they're looking up at the Colts right now, and if they can put that kind of pressure on Andrew Luck, it may be too much for him because he does throw some interceptions.
Now he does, and we definitely talked about that pass rush, adding a Jadeveon Clowney, and like I just said previously, is Jadeveon Clowney, I've been saying Jadeveon this whole time. I feel bad because the guy is most likely going to be the #1 pick, and I still can't get his name right. But that will pass by when he gets more commercials. I'm guaranteed we're going to see him on one of these Subway commercials within the next 2 weeks,
Oh.
or a Gatorade commercial or something like that.
Well,
I believe Sammy
I know.
already agreed to an Adidas deal, by the way.
I haven't seen any of that yet, but talking about mispronunciations, I mean, like, I still haven't been able to pronounce, what's his name, Yangervis Solarte, I don't know if that's right, the Yankees player, and we've had him for a while.
Jan Hervis.
Jan Hervis.
I don't speak Spanish. I don't know, but
yeah, I still can't pronounce him, and he's been dominating for us for like a month and a half now.
So back to the Houston Texans, and
Yes, sir.
Yankee fans should definitely read up on in a dictionary. It's probably not even in the dictionary. But back to the Houston Texans, they were 15th in 2013 in passing yards per game. So while the quarterback position is in need, they were still in the top 15. We saw flashes of brilliance from Case Keenum. We saw flashes of horrific events from Matt Schaub. One that would eventually manifest itself into a pick six hamburger at a popular Houston restaurant. So maybe Oakland can steal some recipes there from Houston if he continues on that trend there. Schaub was the passing yards leader in 2013, however, with 2,310 yards. They were 20th in the rushing game. Ben Tate would lead all rushers. Arian Foster has had health issues. He's looking to come back healthy. We know what he can do when he's healthy. The last signature moment Arian Foster had was probably against a vaunted Ravens defense that was still really, really good. Seth, I know you remember that playoff game, one in which Ray Lewis praised Arian Foster for his running ability. So that is something to keep in mind. But
he definitely torched us.
Like we talked about, the secondary is there. The Houston Texans have a very good secondary, third in opposing passing yards per game, only 195 yards given up. But they're 23rd in opponents' rushing yards per game, giving up 122 yards per game. Davion Clowney, who can be a run-stopper rusher, but Seth, like that highlight we saw in the Michigan game, which basically propelled him to stardom, Jadeveon Clowney can really can really alleviate many of the problems they have on that front 3 or 4, whatever they run in Houston.
The 3-4, yeah.
Well, I think the underrated pick here is, like I said, if they do wind up trading down with Atlanta, if they move, they're going to probably, that's number 6. So they'd be picking at 6. And I feel like at that point, like we said, Mac's going to be gone. I don't think they're going wide receiver again because they took Hopkins last year in the first round.
Right.
I think you're probably looking at an offensive tackle. Now, there's starting to be some rumors like that Jake Matthews is going to the Browns at 4, which I honestly don't understand why you would take a right tackle because they obviously have Joe Thomas.
Right.
So I think that if you're Houston and Jake Matthews is there at 6, I mean, his father is a Hall of Famer when he played in Houston, was for the Oilers. But I think that is a really good fit for him if they do wind up trading down. But worst comes to worst, I mean, maybe Taylor Lewin. I know we just talked about Michigan. It's another pretty highly rated offensive tackle.
Prospects that's very high on the Giants draft board. I know Chris had his concerns with him, but speaking of Jake Matthews, Taylor Lewan, Greg Robinson, the fearsome 3 offensive tackles that have NFL O-line coaches drooling at the mouth. Chris, Jake Matthews, Taylor Lewan, Greg Robinson, which one to you is going to be picked up first on this board? Because no one has a for sure answer. A lot of people like Greg Robinson, then there are people that like Jake Matthews, and then there are people who like the wild card in Taylor Lewan. I know me and you spoke before about Taylor Lewan's off-the-field issues, but his talent is certainly there. With the 3 big-time offensive tackles, 3 guys that can be cornerstones for a franchise, because we all know tackles are never the face of a franchise. Who do you see getting picked first?
I got to go with Robinson. I think Luan has some serious talent, but as we've discussed, as you've brought up, potential character issues might drop him down a couple of spots. So I think he'd probably be the 3rd one out of that group. But these guys are going to go top 6, top 7
Yeah.
is going to be gone. It's a very top-heavy offensive line draft, which is one of the reasons why people are talking about the Giants taking one of these guys in Zach Martin. He's probably the 4th best one, but he's been skyrocketing.
He's the highest rated guard consensusly amongst all the mocks.
Well, the thing about Zach Martin that a lot of people out there love is his ability to play tackle, guard, and center. I mean, some people think he can even play center in the NFL, and I'm not going to hide it. You'll probably see this during this whole stream. I want Zach Martin to fall. So if any team out there takes Zach Martin, you're probably going to see me maybe tear up a little bit because that's my number 1 on my Ravens draft board.
So we have about 10 minutes or so before the draft starts. This is what NFL fans, especially us, have been waiting for all this time. I'm surprised to see that Chris didn't grow his NFL draft beard.
Oh, was I supposed to do that?
But with that said, let's take a little personal spin at this. Seth, you talked about wanting Zach Martin to fall. The Ravens have needs at the receiver position, on the offensive line. You always want to protect your franchise quarterback. There's no question that Joe Flacco is the guy in Baltimore for years to come. If, let's say, all things go well in a perfect world, who do you want the Ravens taking? Well, who do you want falling to the Ravens?
Well, I have a six scenarios for my Ravens at number 17. My first one is Zach Martin. I love Zach Martin. I would even take him ahead of Taylor Lewan. I feel that comfortable taking him because you can also play him at guard. Because we have Kalichi Osemele penciled in right now at left guard, but he can also play right tackle. So I kind of like the diversity there. You can put him at either. Then I would have Taylor Lewan. I doubt he's fallen all the way to 17, but maybe we trade up. You never know. Number 3, I actually have Aaron Donald, which is the defensive tackle from Pittsburgh. And I just feel like, Ozzie Newsome takes best player available. We may be cutting Haloti Ngata in a year or two because of cap problems. So if he's available there at 17, I know Ozzie Newsome loves his defensive linemen. And I got I've heard a lot of comparisons to John Randall, the Hall of Famer for the Vikings in the 90s. The guy's maybe a little undersized, but he's
also very high on the Giants board as well.
Right, yeah, he's got great pass rushing ability for an undersized defensive tackle. And then my other 3 are pretty simple. I'm not exactly sold on HaHa Clinton-Dix from Alabama, but I would definitely consider them there as safety. But number 5, yeah, HaHa Clinton-Dix because Ozzie is an alumni from Alabama. But number 5, I would say probably just a trade down because Ozzie trades down all the time. And at number 6, I mean, maybe Odell Beckham. I mean, we could use a wide receiver.
And Odell Beckham is someone who, and Seth will be back with us in a minute, but Odell Beckham is someone who the Jets reportedly want to trade up into the top 10 for. So that's someone that we should definitely in regards to a sleeper pick, because the Jets already reportedly want to trade up into the top 10. At 12, the Giants could possibly take a stab at him. So that's definitely going to be interesting. Chris, I already have my reservations for the Giants, but we both shared ours on Twitter. You're the GM, you're Jerry Reese. In a perfect world, who are you getting?
I want the tight end out of North Carolina. I want Ebron. I think we don't have a suitable tight end right now. Could we get one in the 2nd or 3rd round? That would be serviceable. Yeah, but you saw Eli Manning at his best when he had a good, solid option, right? See Kevin Boss and a healthy Jeremy Shockey earlier on in his career. Eli hasn't had that over the past couple of seasons, really, and I'd like to see that again. Secondarily, I guess it's got to be Martin. But if they're both off the board, which is entirely possible, because I know a team like the Bills looking at Ebron, then I think you got to go wide receiver. I think you got to take Beckham. It seems a little early, but I think you got to go for it.
Right, absolutely. And you talked about Eric Ebron, the tight end out of North Carolina. His strengths, obviously, he is one of the more impressive athletes, probably the most impressive athlete at the tight end position. Many people see a lot of Vernon Davis in him, which couldn't hurt for the New York Giants. And Seth, you've certainly seen it. The only question is the lack of ideal size at the tight end position for him, and the lack of. I also agree. I believe the Giants should go after Eric Ebron. Just the fact that they haven't had a weapon to really damage teams in the secondary, down the seams, make plays. But like Chris said, if you can't get him, or if the O-line situation is looking iffy, maybe Odell Beckham, like you mentioned, who the Jets reportedly said they'll trade up to get in the top 10. Maybe he's the guy you have to get. Victor Cruz came out, was on NFL Network saying he wanted a receiver. It just wasn't Beckham that he mentioned. There was another receiver who happens to be 6'5", 230 pounds. He who must not be named.
Well, I think the thing that the Giants definitely could, like you said, use a tight end. I mean, McAdoo, who's the new offensive coordinator, has had Jermichael Finley as a really athletic, big tight end, a big playmaker when he was with Green Bay.
He's healthy.
Yeah, that too. I mean, the guy had a brutal spinal injury that he's still recovering from. But I think the thing about Ebron, that the one downside that I think of is you already have your two main targets on offense right now, which are Victor Cruz and Ruben Randle. Both have kind of shoddy hands. They have a little bit problem with drops at times. And that could be Eric Ebron too, because I keep hearing that his hands are iffy. I mean, the talent, the athleticism, all of that, he can go up and make a big catch, but sometimes he's not going to make the easy one. That's what I keep hearing on him.
And that's something to definitely pay attention to. His pro day was outside in cold weather. I don't really put that much big of an emphasis on that, but you do want to keep in mind it is New York City at MetLife Stadium, especially in December. The winds are hurling. Chris, you know this, and it gets chilly. It gets really cold. I mean, it's New Jersey. The winds are hurling. It's not as bad as it was in the old Giant Stadium, but the winds are still there. But we have our personal picks, and we have a couple minutes before the festivities kick off. I know everyone is excited, but the main topic of conversation has been the not knowing aspect of the quarterback class. We don't know who's going first. We don't know if any of them are going to go in the top 10, and that's what's been intriguing about this draft. Who's going first? Is it Johnny Manziel, the sensational product from Texas A&M? Is it the surgeon Teddy Bridgewater from Louisville, or is it the 6'4", 230-pound classic drop-back quarterback in Blake Bortles, who has some mobility to him as well? He's not stuck in that pocket. He knows how to make room. Derek Carr is someone who's caused headlines with his ability, his big play arm. A totally different quarterback from his brother. So with that said, Seth, how do you see this quarterback picture settling out?
Well, I think a lot of it is going to be pretty obvious early on. I mean, we've got pick. I think we can all at this point think the Houston Texans aren't taking a QB. I think we're pretty set on that. But the Jaguars at 3, you never know if they could take a quarterback. Obviously, the Browns at 4. I think the real team to watch out here, though, is for the Buccaneers at 7, because I think that they could be the first team to take. I think they could be the first one to take a quarterback, preferably Johnny Manziel. And if Johnny Manziel is on the board at number 8, I think he goes to the Vikings. But if Manziel goes 7, I think Bortles goes 8. And I think we've had this discussion before. I think Teddy Bridgewater, because a lot of people out there saying, this guy may fall. I think he goes either in 2 spots unless someone trades up. He either goes 20 to the Cardinals, which is one of my surprise picks, or he goes 26 to the Cleveland Browns. That's my predictions for those guys.
And Seth, we discussed this. If Teddy Bridgewater goes to the Cardinals, that's a very ideal situation for him. He may get to sit back, learn from Carson Palmer, maybe the good from Carson Palmer, develop, and that ends. But he'll learn the good from Carson Palmer.
And that's actually
the heavenly sounds of the draft music. I don't know.
That marks 8 o'clock.
Yeah, it is definitely 8 o'clock.
With that said, if Teddy Bridgewater falls and he lands with the Cardinals, a team with already a really good defense and some offensive weapons around him, we may be looking at another Russell Wilson situation here where you're kind of looked down upon in terms of draft stock, and then you land in an ideal situation. Chris, your thoughts on if, like Seth said, if a Teddy Bridgewater falls and lands with the team like the Arizona Cardinals, who record-wise maybe should have made it to the NFL playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good situation for him, right? He can develop behind a Carson Palmer. Going back to your original point, if Manziel drops out of the top 7, right? Let's say none of those guys take him. I think it's going to be a little bit of a free fall. I kind of agree. I was listening to Jay Glazer earlier. I kind of agree with him. There's not many teams after that really need a quarterback. That being said, I'm still not sure. It's going to be Manziel or Bortles. I think that's going to be the first one off the board. But you know what? There's some of these teams, right? Like the Oakland Raiders, that are going to pick somebody that you just have no idea. You have no idea who they're picking. Because whatever makes sense, they're going to do the other thing.
I think I saw something like that before. I think someone actually had them taking like a car at the 5th pick, not even trading down, just taking a car at the 5th pick. They can do something stupid. It's the Raiders. You know, Al Davis has passed away, but his legacy is still there.
And that's something that has, I don't want to say plagued the NFL draft, but it's made it more interesting, and it's also harmed the vibe around it with the outrageous quarterback mocks going on. You know, like you said, Derek Carr being picked 5th. You're picking Derek Carr at number 5 over Teddy Bridgewater, Blake Bortles, and Johnny Manziel. You might have missed out on one of those 3 being a consistent playoff quarterback. Because Derek Carr, although I like his game, I love his arm talent. I think arm talent-wise, he may be up in the top 2. But like it's been pointing out, his passing percentage his completion percentage drops tremendously when under pressure. And in the NFL, you have to be able to step up into the pocket, face that 4-man rush or whatever's thrown at you, especially these exotic blitz scheme packages. If you're facing like a Rex Ryan Jets team or Rob Ryan, Saints defense, you got to be prepared for that. But Chris, just your overall thoughts on the quarterback class here. Just the picture that's unsettling with Manziel being slated to go to the Cowboys by Todd McShay. I mean, if that happened, the headlines coming out of Dallas would be unbearable.
Well, it doesn't make any sense because you have Tony Romo's contract. You can't get out from under that.
Nope.
It doesn't make any sense. I'm not even going to glorify that with a response, essentially.
I feel like that was like ESPN and NFL Network and Fox, whatever. All those networks conspired together and said, you know what would be funny? Let's start a rumor before the draft that's going to drive attention for all of us for like 2 days, saying that the Cowboys are interested. I mean, I can't buy that. I mean, like you said, Romo's contract is huge. He's a really good player. I get it. He's getting up there in age and he's had injury problems. But let's think about this. They need defensive help.
Right.
They don't have a lot of draft picks, and they need to get more draft picks. And that's I mean, even if they have like 7 picks, they need more. They need defensive help. They definitely do.
And as we discuss this, the NFL draft has begun. Roger Goodell's at the podium. NFL fans, this is the moment you've been waiting for. So as each pick commences, we'll quiet down. We're fans too. And then we'll get right into the pick after.
Right.
NFL draft is officially open. The Houston Texans
what a lovely sound.
are now on the clock.
Last second picks, guys. I say Jadeveon Clowney. Set.
I think it's got to be.
All right, so the Houston Texans are now on the clock, and as we discussed a little bit before,
the reports. I'm sorry, Seth. Go ahead.
Well, no, I said that as we discussed before, the Houston Texans have the first pick, and they're on the clock. A lot of people out there are expecting this pick, obviously, to be Jadeveon Clowney. We're got to keep our eye to see if there is a trade, because you definitely don't know. But like I said before, I have a gut feeling that this may be Khalil Mack and could shock some people, but most likely, like everyone thinks, this should be Jadeveon Clowney. I just think that overall this is a team that needs they need more help, honestly, not even in the defensive front seven. I think on the right side, obviously, eventually, they need a new left tackle in a few years. They have a pretty good one there right now in Dwayne Brown. But they don't need wide receiver help. I don't really think they need the defensive help in the front seven, but those are the two best players. And if you have the first pick and you have a once-in-a-lifetime player like Jadeveon Clowney, I think you got to take him.
I agree with you as well. I definitely see Jadeveon Clowney being chosen. Like we said, imagine him right near J.J. Watt. That's fearsome. I don't care if you're Andrew Luck. I don't care which quarterback you are in the AFC South or in the NFL period. You have to game plan for that. You can't double team J.J. Watt anymore, and that's going to be one of the more interesting factors about this. Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I think I just can't see a scenario. I mean, yes, Khalil Mack's a great player, but he played at Buffalo. He'll be picked in the top 10 for sure, probably top 5. But now, when you have this kind of chance, you can't pass it up.
Now, if a quarterback is chosen, I would be shocked for the simple fact that I think we all agree if it's not Jadeveon Clowney, it's going to be Khalil Mack. I think we all agree on that point. Something of that effect. It wouldn't be a Sammy Watkins, given that they, like you said, Seth, they went wide receiver early last year.
Right.
With that said, if they choose a quarterback, I think it may be the hometown kid, Johnny Manziel, just for the simple fact that he is the hometown kid. And he made quite an impression on Bill O'Brien, who usually goes with the guys like Blake Bortles, who's also in discussion for the pick.
What's up, Garrett?
Well, we got around like 6 minutes left, 7 minutes actually, closer really. I don't know, man. I think that this is going to be Clowney. I think most people really do. I just want to see it. This pick is really, I think, I don't know. I feel like there's really only 3 choices here. It's either Clowney, it's Mack, or it's a trade down for Clowney. I think those are really the only 3 options here.
Okay, we have a guest here.
Not doing anything.
You're right in front of the camera, buddy.
Oh, I am.
Yeah, well, you can say hi to the internet.
Well, at least we know who can play O-line.
Yeah, he actually was an O-lineman in high school.
That's awesome.
Yeah, can you go right now? Okay.
But like we said, Houston third in passing against the passing game, but 23rd against the rush. That hurt them obviously, and like we talked about, Jadeveon Clowney's ability to stop the run as well. He's not just a pass rusher. His pass rushing ability was glorified, but his ability to stop the run, as we've seen his entire college career, that's something that you have to pay attention to as well.
Right. Oh, man. We've talked about this pick so much, I don't even know what else there really is to say.
I mean, the highlight play of his college career was a run-stopping play. And that's what propelled him.
The new head coach here, and Rick Smith.
That's what put him on the map, that's for sure.
On the clock. But some of these teams, they've been negotiating potential trades with, reaching out to make one more offer to try to get the number 1 overall pick, presumably for Jadeveon
They're taking their time, like Seth said, calling the Atlanta Falcons, calling whoever else, and saying, listen,
other teams.
We're willing to trade, give me the jackpot. I want what the Redskins got, or
stand on the ground and plays a stand-up outside linebacker on early downs, and then 60 to 70% of the time rush the passer as a defensive end, which he's been throughout his college career. So it'll be interesting to see how they resolve this. I know that Rick Smith did not feel any pressure from his owner, Bob McNair, to draft the local quarterback phenom, Johnny Manziel, but Bill O'Brien is believed to have very high regard for him. In fact, he called Manziel yesterday one hell of a player when I spoke to him. Now let's go to Chris Mortensen.
So it's there. Chris, you heard him. Johnny Manziel, one heck of a player. I mean, he's definitely on the mind of Bill O'Brien. is Jadeveon Clowney, Johnny Manziel, or a trade scenario? These are the reports that are coming out.
Well, I do want to also bring up there was a trade report from before. It really didn't have much to do with the draft, but it would signal that maybe they were looking elsewhere as the Houston Texans were talking reportedly to the New England Patriots about backup quarterback Ryan Mallett, who had a lot of talent coming into the draft. I believe he went to Arkansas. Then, of course, he doesn't really get to play because there's some guy named Tom Brady playing
but
there.
he's developing behind Tom Brady, and Mallett has a big arm. He's a big quarterback. He's someone that Bill Belichick actually really likes a lot. He likes him a great deal. And the fact that he has been sitting behind Brady, that's a trade that they very well might be interested in. Remember, Bill O'Brien loves his quarterbacks to be big, strong, and have a big arm. The latest quarterback he had at Penn State, Christian Hackenberg, the big freshman. Before that, Tom Brady. So Bill O'Brien knows the ability Ryan Mallett has. Ryan Mallett was there in 2011. Seth, like you said, that may be a trade he's willing to bite on.
Right, and I don't know if they're going to be able to get a quarterback at number 33 because, like we said, we think there's probably I think we could say that Manziel and Bortles probably, I won't say definitely, but I want to say almost 99% chance they're going in the first round.
Right.
Bridgewater, I know people think maybe he's going to fall out. Carr, these guys are maybe a little less certainty, but I think about like 75-80% chance.
What about trading back up into the first round?
Well, that's the thing here is they could trade back in the first round, but teams are also going to want to try to get in front of them at 33, and that's why in my mock draft I had the Jaguars trading up to get Jimmy Garoppolo because you don't know, because if the Texans get to day 2 with Jimmy Garoppolo on the board, they're probably going to take him. So if you want to get a chance for a quarterback and get a fifth-year option, you take him in the first round, you got to trade up, and I think the two most likely spots for that, New England at 29, Seahawks at 32. And we'll get to that at probably 11 o'clock, midnight. That's going to be a while away. But, yeah, I think that's definitely the possibilities here. So the Texans also may have to be the team that moves up to the back end of the first round, as it looks like we're within 2 minutes of finally figuring out, and there's no trade that I can see so far.
It would be really last minute.
Yeah, Chris Morton says the Falcons are not trading for the first round pick, the first overall pick.
Yeah, I mean, that seemed to be the only fit, right?
I also heard Buffalo, but they're all the way at 9, so I don't think that was going to happen. So we're almost in 1 minute.
Speaking of the analyst, well, not speaking of, I'm bringing it up right now. John Gruden, who's talking right now, if you're watching the ESPN broadcast, he is in love with Johnny Manziel's game. But he also talked about the rare ability a Jadeveon Clowney brings forth. Seth, we discussed all these trade possibilities.
The pick is in, actually.
Do you feel that this wait is mainly trade talks right now, or do you think they're really thinking it over more so than that?
Well, the pick is actually in. It says so in the bottom corner, so I'm assuming they're actually going to make the pick. Or maybe they take Clowney and they could still trade him. I mean, they can. There's still time. Because that's what happened with Eli Manning in 2004. The Chargers took him, and then they negotiated a trade later with the Giants. So we're going to probably find out in a few seconds when Roger Goodell comes out to a nice standing boo. So I think we're going to say goodbye for a few seconds and see who gets taken with the first overall pick in the draft.
And the first pick is in. And there we go. Jadeveon Clowney is the first pick of the 2014 NFL Draft. Seth, like you said, trading him is still a possibility, but you have to think there was a deep discussion there about either trading him or Jadeveon. Obviously, a quarterback was not in the picture, as all that time was most likely to see if there were trade scenarios. They probably didn't see one they liked and just went safe and picked the most freakish athlete and the best prospect on the board.
Right. I mean, I think like I said before, I think it was probably the right pick. I had like a gut feeling maybe they'd go a little unconventional like they did in 2006, but like I wouldn't be shocked still. You never know. Some team could still come out there. There is still some time before Atlanta comes on the clock at 6. They could be like, all right, we'll give you our first this year, our first next year, and whatever else Houston would want. So I wouldn't say it's 100%, but it looks good right now for Clowney to join J.J. Watt, which will probably be the most destructive defensive line that we've seen in a long time. I mean, that's going to be scary to watch.
It certainly is. It's going to be one of the more monstrous defensive lines in the NFL. Chris, your thoughts?
I mean, that's going to be frightening. Absolutely frightening. It's great. I'm just watching his reaction, how emotional he is right now. I can only imagine if I was the slightest bit athletic. I guess I could imagine that. But yeah, I mean, we're watching some of his replays now, and how he just that speed rush. He's got the bull rush. He's got everything that you want, and just that line's going to be terrifying. Watch out. Good luck.
Our own Harris Uden actually just tweeted out, I can't say the first word he said, but he said that Watt and Clowney is just straight unfair, and I think we can all agree with that. And now next up on the clock at number 2 is the St. Louis Rams. I personally think that this one right here, a lot of people seem to think it's going to be Greg Robinson, the offensive tackle from Auburn. But remember, a few years ago, just in 2012, they had the 2nd overall pick and they traded down. So a lot of these picks, I feel like most of them are not safe and they could be traded down at any time. Also, I know your boy Sammy Watkins could even go here, but I think it's going to be Greg Robinson. I agree with it. I think especially because Jake Long is so injury-prone, he's kind of become unreliable at this point. So maybe you play him a year at a different position, and then when you cut Jake Long, you move him over and he's your franchise left tackle.
And now 3 important aspects of the draft have kicked into high gear. We have to wait to see what the Texans are going to do about a quarterback, because I think we can all agree Case Keenum did show flashes of brilliance, but we don't believe he's going to lead them to a Super Bowl.
No chance.
Manziel Watt starts. And that's what we've all been waiting for.
Oh, the game is on. The game has been on.
Or will we see him fall, and then everything scrambles up because where's Blake Bortles going to go? Where's Teddy Bridgewater going to go?
Yeah, I mean, I think the interesting thing here is there have been some reports about even the Rams taking Johnny Manziel. I mean, I don't personally believe it. The general manager actually went on Rich Eisen's podcast a few weeks ago, and he pretty much said, Sam Bradford's our guy. But, it wouldn't be the first time someone said that about a quarterback and then, went behind his back and got someone else. So you never know, but I personally think it's going to be Greg Robinson. But Sammy Watkins also wouldn't surprise anyone. Or you know what? Jake Matthews.
Jake Matthews, who has a relationship with Jeff Fisher, the head coach of the St. Louis Rams.
Right, because the Titans.
Right, and
his dad played for the Titans at the end of his career.
But Seth, if you're Jeff Fisher, and you think about pairing a Sammy Watkins with a Tavon Austin, the thought of that in the NFC West, it kind of makes you giggle a little bit to yourself.
But I mean, the problem is in this division, the first thing you got to worry about is saving your quarterback from getting mauled by the Seahawks defenders, the 49ers defenders, the Cardinals defenders. I mean, even in practice against your own defenders.
Right.
And then you got to get a good defense for your own. And I mean, I like Sammy Watkins, but this draft is so deep at wide receiver, and they also have the 13th pick, which is their own pick. I think that if they're going to take a wide receiver in the first round, it's more likely going to happen at 13.
Absolutely. You talked about the depth in this draft. Marquise Lee, Brandon Cooks, Odell Beckham Jr., who may be a top 10 pick before the night is over. So that's definitely something interesting to watch. But I do believe it. I think it's a little bit closer between Greg Robinson and Jake Matthews. I think Jeff Fisher may surprise us here with a Jake Matthews pick because he knows how hard-working the kid is. He's familiar with the family, and quite frankly, it's split in the NFL mock draft community between Jake Matthews and Greg Robinson. So
I mean, you can never go wrong with that family. I mean, the Matthews are like 5 generations of like Hall of Fame Pro Bowl player after Hall of Fame Pro Bowl player. I mean, Clay Matthews comes in a few years ago and he dominates. Now we got Jake Matthews, and I think he also has another. I think he has a brother also played at A&M who will be coming in. So I mean, like that family just keeps churning out great Matthews after great. So I can't argue with it. I mean, both are great.
now, Seth, just to make you cry a little bit inside, along with me and Chris, week 3, Christopher, we have to endure Jadeveon Clowney and J.J. Watt in MetLife Stadium, at MetLife Stadium. And Seth, week 16, the Ravens will be away at Reliant Stadium against the Houston Texans. So that's going.
And that's why I want Zach Martin, because I need the offensive line to be as good as possible. Get me Zach Martin to help out.
We know what we have coming into town, Chris, in New York. It's going to be Jadeveon Clowney alongside J.J. Watt. And with Eli coming off the year he came off of.
Can I change my pick to Zach Martin?
No, stop.
No. I still Ebron. But yeah, I mean, that's tough. I mean, it's just kind of reminds me of those Eagles teams, you know, with Trent Cole and all those guys, you know, just coming at Eli's head.
Oh my goodness.
At least we don't have to face him twice. I mean, I feel bad for Andrew Luck, to be honest with you.
So the pick is actually in. I mean, ESPN's at a commercial right now. My NFL Network's obviously frozen. So we're going to find out very soon who is going to be taking last-minute picks. Who do you got? I think I know where you're leaning, Des, but Chris, who do you got the Rams going with here? Because I'm going Greg Robinson.
Yeah, I'm actually just saw a tweet from Jason LaConfora.
No, don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say it.
Why?
Don't say it. Jason LaConfora ruins all the picks before they're made. So if you see who gets picked, don't tell
so then
us.
I'm not going to say what I think because I already know.
Yeah, can you do us a favor right now and unfollow him?
Oh, why? Because we're gonna guess.
I don't want to know the pick before it actually happens. I want Goodell to be the first one to tell me.
Well, I certainly see them going tackle here. I would love to see a Sammy Watkins combo with Tavon Austin, who had some of the most amazing highlights last season. But you got to protect Sam Bradford, who has been, for the most part in his career, very inconsistent with his health. You have to protect him. You said you're all in. You have to give him a fighting chance. So I see Greg Robinson here, but I would not be surprised if Jake Matthews' name is called.
All right, let's say we take a few minutes here. Pick should be in, should be read in a second, and we'll come back to it.
And like I said, if you're watching, tweet at us. Let us know who you think is going to be picked. Let us know what you think is going on as we await the commissioner to come back out and let us know who the Rams of St. Louis will be taking with the second pick. So, Seth, the first two picks have gone according to plan. Nothing has really surprised us. With that said, what do you see for the Rams here? The Rams certainly get a guy that's going to be the franchise cornerstone for the guy who they think is going to be their franchise face, Sam Bradford.
Yep, I think that this pick made a lot of sense. Like I said before, Jake Long, they signed him to a big contract last offseason, but I don't think it's really reliable because he's always hurt. I mean, he's a really talented player, but I've heard that you could kick him out to guard. I don't know if he can play right tackle, but obviously you put him in another position the first year. I mean, if Jake Long gets hurt, which happens all the time, you slide him out to left tackle, and then once you cut Jake Long or his contract runs out, then you move him to left tackle full time. I mean, everyone seems to think he's really, really aggressive this year. He's one of the best left tackles, at least upside wise, that'll come out in a long time. Some people think he's a little raw, but I mean, he's played in the SEC, so if you play in the SEC against these tough big men that they get to play for these teams out there, I think he's ready for the NFL.
And Chris, this guy has long arms, excellent overall body mass. He's an outstanding run blocker. His technique in the passing game, it could improve. But with that said, the Rams get a guy that's going to help them defend against the defending champions in the Seahawks, this rising Cardinals defense, and the always vaunted 49ers defense. What can you say for the Rams and their pick of Greg Robinson?
I think it's a great pick. I think it makes a lot of sense for them, especially the point you made about Seattle. You're going to have that. You have everybody coming at you from all different directions, and to get a guy on the offensive line just makes sense. And he's a force. I mean, you're watching some of these highlights here, and he's a big man. You see him right away. He's the biggest guy on that line, and he's just a force up there. And obviously, there's room for improvement for all these guys. But you got a great coach in Jeff Fisher. He's going to coach him up. He'll be fine. He'll be one of the top linemen in the league within a couple of years.
And you can see from this pick, Seth, it was all business. Pretty quick, they went with Greg Robinson, by the way. So Jake Matthews having a relationship with Jeff Fisher had nothing to do with this. They just see Greg Robinson as the best at his job in this draft class.
Well, I mean, we saw last year, everyone was saying that maybe Ryan Nassib was going to go meet up with his coach in Buffalo, and then they took E.J. Manuel.
Right.
So you never can be assured that just because you played with the guy or you have, you're friends with them, family, friends, whatever, it doesn't assure anything. And now the Jaguars, as we're running down here with 4 minutes left on the clock, this could be the first place that I think realistically for Johnny Manziel. But I think that when all said and done, Bradley, the head coach, is a big defensive guy coming from Seattle, and I think Khalil Mack is a can't-miss defensive prospect that you can really build your defensive unit around. I think it's Khalil Mack. Some people out there also think Sammy Watkins. I think like any of these top few teams could take Sammy Watkins because you can never have enough wide receivers, but I think it'd be interesting. I think it's Khalil Mack. That's my prediction. I don't know about you guys. The pick is in, so I don't know if you guys...
I'm also seeing a tweet here from let's see. Oh, Adam Schefter says surprise coming at 3.
Oh.
So we'll see. And then also an interesting thing. He's talking on ESPN now.
Oh wow.
So let's take a break for a little bit, I guess.
Jason La Canfora just he got me with his. I'm not gonna say it on air, but I will say this. It's going to shock everyone. Seth, I know you don't want to hear what he has to tweet because it ruins the drafts, but he just ruined me for this pick. But I'm definitely.
All right. So the Browns are trying to trade down.
Jason La Canfora, if he did tweet that Greg Robinson was going to be picked, but we all kind of felt that. Chris, you saw that as well. But
I think that was the general consensus.
Right, but the tweet that he just sent out is going to shake the draft foundation because if this comes true, now everything is all off bets. And now it begs the question, do they take a Khalil Mack? Do they go after a quarterback? Do they bring in a tackle? Do they go after a Sammy Watkins who's still there? This is why this draft has been so interesting, Chris.
I couldn't restrain myself. I had to go look at it.
We don't know, and you saw it, and it makes you. If you're the viewers, look for Jason La Canfora. He's usually the draft ruiner. He should be banned from predicting. Well, not predicting, from reporting picks, Chris.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's he's ruining it. He's ruining it for everybody. Even though I kind of wanted to see it.
Now Seth is muted.
I have the audio muted right now just because I don't want to hear what you're saying. So I don't even know what you're saying right now. So
No, we haven't revealed it. We haven't revealed anything, but it's surely going to surprise you. And here comes the commissioner.
Blake Bortles.
Oh! Blake Bortles!
And the Jaguars have done it. They've taken the first
Wow!
off the board.
Wow!
Blake Bortles has been picked ahead of Johnny Manziel and Teddy Bridgewater. Guys, now it is definitely quarterback.
Just for the record, I did say he was my first one. Just so you know.
Here we go. Wow. So I mean, this
look
is
at Johnny
what's great about
Manziel.
this.
He looks so upset, and that's kind of nice. I kind of like that.
And now it's
well-
getting good. Now it's getting.
Yep. Like we were saying before, me and Des were talking before, and we said that the thing about last year's draft is, I mean, one, there wasn't really anything interesting going on. The prospects were pretty boring, and two, everything was pretty predictable. I mean, there was like a little bit the Dolphins trading up to get the defensive end Deion Jordan from for Oregon, but I mean, aside from that, nothing was really that surprising in the first few picks. I mean, Blake Bortles going to the Jags, that's some heavy stuff right there.
Shout out to Harris Uden, one of our NFL writers. He is not a fan of this pick. I don't even have to see a tweet to know he's not a fan of this pick.
Yeah.
Because Seth, you know how he feels. He believes no quarterback should have been taken ahead of Manziel or Bridgewater. He has it flipped though. He believes Bridgewater first, Manziel second, Bortles barely third. Now he is prototypical. He has been compared to Ben Roethlisberger, Big Ben. Seth, you're very familiar with Ben Roethlisberger. You've covered a lot of Ravens games. You've seen a lot of Ravens games against the Steelers. Do you see a little bit of the two-time champion Ben Roethlisberger in the Jaguars' future franchise quarterback?
I don't know. That's asking for a lot. I mean, Ben is such a unique player. I mean, he is kind of like a Blake Bortles where he's a big body quarterback, but he has the Johnny Manziel, where he can do anything at any time, where he can do unscripted plays. He just run around, throw the ball like behind his back. He can break a lot of tackles, which is something that I really like that Ben Roethlisberger does. But I don't know. I mean, taking the quarterback here is really risky because they have a lot of problems on this team. They need to be 100% sure that this is the guy because Sammy Watkins could have only helped whatever quarterback they could have gotten in the second round, maybe if they traded back up into the first. I mean, but now, Blackman is the coaching staff said they're not sure if he's, coming back. They're not sure about it. So I don't know. I'm not sure about the pick. I would have went either Watkins or I would have went with Khalil Mack. Now Khalil Mack has fallen to 4, and I remember seeing rumors before that the Atlanta Falcons were actually trying to trade up. Oh, as the Buffalo Bills have traded the pick apparently to the Cleveland.
I knew they were trying to trade back.
I think we can all agree Khalil Mack is going here.
Actually, I don't think so. I think this may actually be for Sammy Watkins because the Buffalo Bills were second in the NFL last year in sacks, and they were trying. I thought they were going to try to trade up for Mike Evans. I had them trading up with the Raiders to 5 to get Mike Evans, but I think they're going to take Sammy Watkins.
I don't know. I agree with you on the fact that it may be possible. I think they really might like to boost defense just a little bit more. And why not go after Khalil Mack? Why not? I mean, like you said, the Bills had a very impressive defense. Why not make it even more impressive? But, Seth, when you look at Sammy Watkins and what he can bring to the table, this young man is just phenomenal.
Yeah. I think that this makes a lot of sense. They need to give E.J. Manuel more weapons. I mean, a lot of people thought maybe if they stood put where they were, they could have went after Eric Ebron. But I know now you guys are probably happy because one less team will be out there to take Eric Ebron because I don't think they're going to move up all the way to 4 to take him.
Well, because I think the Browns were trading back to 9 to take a cornerback. That was the original rumor. So
corner.
That's what.
That may be Darqueze Dennard from Michigan State because I know the Lions, I think, had interest in him, and they pick at 10, so they're moving 1 pick ahead of him. as the pick, I think, is in. So I'm assuming we're going to hear if this is Sammy Watkins or Des. Do you have a final prediction? Do you think it's Sammy Watkins?
I think it may be Khalil Mack. I really do. It's very close. It could be Sammy. It could be Sammy, but I don't know. I don't know, man.
They gave so much money to. They gave so much money to Mario Williams, man. I don't think so. I really don't think.
For our Giants, Des, this also may open up, one of the offensive linemen for us. So
the Bills got a first-round pick in 2015 and a fourth-round pick next year, along with the 9th pick to move up to number 4. That's pretty hefty of a price tag. Good job by the Browns. Props to them.
This is your King's Ransom team. You said there was going to be a team to get a King's Ransom, and it just so happened to be the Browns.
Yeah, good for them. I mean, I think that in this draft especially, you got to move down because you get more picks, but some of them for next year. So here we go with the Bills. Let's take a listen to Roger Goodell. There we go. Sammy Watkins is a Buffalo Bill.
Seth, this is a big deal for E.J. Manuel. He can flourish as a quarterback with a wide receiver like Sammy Watkins. I thought it was going to be Khalil Mack, but you made a good point. They did pay Mario Williams a lot of money. I thought they would just take the risk and go after Mack, but you bring in a Sammy Watkins to go along with a C.J. Spiller in the backfield. There's so many weapons all over the field for E.J. Manuel now. C.J. Spiller had his coming out party. E.J. Manuel looks to come into his own as a quarterback. You get someone that could take the top over the defense like Sammy Watkins can. Seth, what are we looking at for the Bills?
Well, I think the Bills, I like the trade. I mean, I like the trade in essence that you're getting a very nice, dynamic wide receiver, which is something they need. You pair him with Stevie Johnson. This is a really nice quarterback, really good with run after the catch. Stevie Johnson's more of like a stretch kind of wide receiver. It's a good pick. I think they may have given up a little too much. I don't know if I would have moved all the way up just to, you have to give up the first-round pick next year, which if they have a bad season, they could have, a pick in the top 5. Obviously, this is a much better draft, but I don't know if I like the trade because you have to give up the other first-round pick, but I like it because Sammy Watkins is dynamic, and that can only help him. But I do want to, before I hear your opinion on what you think about the trade, I do want to say, though, that this becomes really interesting because the Oakland Raiders are a team that I've heard a lot of rumors may want to trade down. I'm not checking my Twitter timeline, so I don't know what's going on. But if they trade down here, Khalil Mack is on the board at number 5. Not a lot of people thought that was going to happen, so any team maybe looking to get help there can maybe move up here before Atlanta, unless Atlanta wants to swap up a pick, because I know Atlanta would definitely love to have Khalil Mack because they had an awful pass rush last year.
They really did, and the trade, like we said, Seth, the Browns are that King's Ransom team you talked about. They got it. I like the trade in regards to this. They moved back to 9. They can still get a dynamic receiver if they want to later on. They can still get that quarterback they want, and it may just be who we think it may be in Johnny Manziel. It could be Teddy Bridgewater because we didn't think the Jags were going to take Blake Bortles. So now in that mold that we don't know, but Sammy Watkins, strong hands, dynamic. His second gear to most guys is a third gear, which is remarkable. The fact of the matter is the Bills have made them even better on offense, and this is what you have to do when you share a division with the New England Patriots.
Right. I mean, I think that it definitely makes sense, but I don't know. I didn't like the price tag. Adam Schefter is saying something. I want to check this out. All right, he's just talking about the Bills. Real quick, Oakland Raiders, if they stay at this pick, I think it becomes interesting. They could take Jake Matthews. I think that's probably the pick. But, I mean, Khalil Mack, I don't know if they could have expected him to fall this far. I know they added some defensive players this offseason. I saw Justin Tuck on the screen on ESPN just said, he posted a tweet saying Mack with like 15 question marks. So, I don't know. I think it could be either of them. I think maybe Mike Evans in play too. I mean, honestly, take the analyst hat off right now. We do not know what's going to happen in this draft.
No, we don't. And the fact of the matter is, if you have a mock draft, ladies and gentlemen, you need to throw it out the window because
definitely.
I'm still shocked off of that Blake Bortles pick. I'm very shocked at the fact that he was the first quarterback taken off the board. Seth, we agreed. We both believe Teddy Bridgewater just naturally was the most accurate quarterback coming off the board. Chris, a lot of people felt Johnny Manziel, Teddy Bridgewater were the best quarterbacks in the class. Jaguars, whose head coach Gus Bradley coached on a team that had a dynamic quarterback in Russell Wilson, he goes with the traditional quarterback. What do you see? Do you see Blake Bortles having? What type of impact do you see him having for the Jags? It's gonna take some time, obviously.
Yeah, I don't know. For any quarterback, I don't think right away. Right. I'm not so sure he would even have the weapons to do that right away. I mean, all they have pretty much is Justin Blackman as a vertical threat. I think if they have Chad Henne there. I think if he it's kind of like a situation where when Eli Manning came in the league, and he kind of learned for it was 8 games, the first 8 games, something like that. But Bortles will be the starter by the end of it, unless he conks out. But I don't see that happening.
So what do we think, guys? Who do we think if the Raiders stay at this pick? We haven't seen a trade yet. Who do you guys think it's going to be? I'm going to have to go with one answer here. I'm going Jake Matthews, as it looks like Goodell is about to come out.
I'm going to go with Jake Matthews as well.
I think it's Mac.
Really?
It's Mac.
All right, and here comes Roger Goodell. Let's check it out.
I know it's Matt. I know Matthews makes sense, but it's the Raiders.
That's a good pick.
You did a good job on that one, Khalil Mack. Seth,
Yep.
Justin Tuck gets his partner in crime here, who left the New York Giants, Chris. Hearts are broken in New York, but now he gets to usher in the veterans there in Oakland that were signed this offseason, get to usher in one of the more impressive defensive weapons in the NFL draft. What are your impressions on this pick, Chris?
I think this is a classic Raiders pick. Right. I mean, you have a guy.
Hopefully this one works out.
He has good talent, good raw talent, right? But he went to a school not in a premier conference. So in a lot of ways, you don't really know what you're going to get from him at the NFL level. He has the raw skills, but can the Raiders staff coach him up to be exactly what we're looking at on these highlights now?
Yeah.
Can he do that in the NFL? I don't know. It's the Raiders picks are always some degree of mystery to them. This is no different.
I think that I think it was a good pick for them. I did not think he was going to fall this far. I mean, the Raiders are a team where they have so many holes and weaknesses that they probably could have taken any single position and it wouldn't have been a bad pick.
Right.
I just thought that it would probably make more sense for them to get that left tackle for their quarterback, which right now is Matt Schaub. I know that they gave a lot of money to I forgot the name. They gave it to what's his face? It was like but I heard that he was more of a guard than a right tackle. The guy they signed in free agency. I'm terrible with names. But I don't know.
You had the Falcons at least trading up at some point. Now they sit at 6. Mack is gone. Clowney is gone. Who do you see the Falcons taking with their 6th pick?
I would be shocked if it's not Jake Matthews. I don't think they're going wide receiver. They already got Julio and Roddy. I just think they're obviously not going quarterback. They got Matty Ice. I think it's got to be Jake Matthews, unless they trade down, but I don't see why they would. I think this is probably the easiest pick so far since the 2nd pick in the draft. I'd probably go Jake Matthews.
I agree. I think he's dropped far enough. I think you got to just take it at this point. They have to be thrilled he's there, to be honest with you.
And here we might see 2 Texas A&M Aggies picked back-to-back. Jake Matthews going 6 hits to Atlanta. And Seth, you had Johnny Manziel getting taken by the team that probably showed the most interest in him in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, despite signing, excuse me for not remembering his name right now. They did sign...
Not Glennon, right?
No, it wasn't Glennon.
McCown?
They did sign Josh McCown, yes.
Right, yeah, Josh McCown.
And they did sign him, and he was slated to be the starter, but he's not going to be your franchise quarterback. He's not going to be the guys 10 years from now that we're watching on the same level, maybe on the same level as the Bradys, the Mannings, the Brees. You know, he's not going to be in that elite class. So, with that said, Seth, we may see a pick of yours go down with two teammates from college going right after another.
Well, I personally think that I think that we may see back-to-back-to-back picks of Aggies here in the first round. I think it'd probably be like if Jake Matthews goes here, we could see Mike Evans go at number 7, and then maybe we see Johnny Manziel go to the Vikings at number 8. So then you could see 3 Texas A&M Aggies go back-to-back-to-back. Wow. Or it could be the reverse. Maybe Manziel goes to Tampa, but I don't know. I think that right here, like we said, Jake Matthews probably the very solid, surefire pick here at number 6 to the Falcons. Then after that, I mean, all hands on deck. Maybe even Aaron Donald could come into play for the Buccaneers. I mean, that also could potentially be the pick.
You know, there's two reports that I'm reading now on Twitter. Well, they're both by Giants reporters, but there's Ralph Acciano from Daily News, North Stapleton, saying that they think it's going to be Luan at this pick.
Really?
Yeah.
Luan,
not that they have any information on it, but that's just what they think.
Wow, yeah, I see Desmond just retweeted that. That's interesting.
And this is definitely going to be one of the more interesting factors of the draft now. With everything going on, the unexpected picks, the trade up by the Bills, the trade down by the Browns, this is going to be good. This is going to be good.
The other thing about Johnny Manziel to potentially the Bucks, I don't see Lovie Smith taking that on. I don't think he wants that. He's a very low drama coach, and that taking on Johnny Manziel is gonna brings the whole gravy train in. So
yeah,
we've lost Seth momentarily here.
He'll be back with us soon, but with that said, oh, you see Taylor Lewan there laughing to himself, smiling. He may have just received the call. We don't know. That's usually how players look when they receive the call from that team, from that coach.
That's true. Telling
them, hey, we're going to go with you. So what do you think? What do you think of that? Are you going to work hard?
I don't know. The whole thing's been turned on its head, right? I mean, you thought that for sure Matthews was going before Luan, and now I think it's unsure, right? I mean, that shows how I am.
And we talked about his uneasiness. Well, Chris talked about your uneasiness, and definitely I had some questions as well about Luan's off-the-field concerns. But the nastiness that he plays with, O-line coaches covet that because they truly feel like they could change a guy around and harness that aggressiveness into play. Seth, what do you make of that?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that real quick?
With Taylor Lewan, his off-the-field issues with fighting and stuff like that, the fact of the matter is many O-line coaches in the NFL truly believe they can harness that energy, that aggressiveness into O-line play, just nasty, gritty O-line play.
Well, I think the biggest thing for him is he needs to go to a team that's actually going to be good for him. I mean, if he's going to a team like the Oakland Raiders or he's going to a team like the Detroit Lions, you worry about the off the field if it's really a team environment or if it's more like an all free-for-all for everyone for themselves. But I feel like if he's going to the Falcons, I mean, that seems like a pretty sturdy locker room right there, and it doesn't seem like a team that has too much trouble. So if they do decide to take Luan, I mean, I don't think he's going to have too much trouble there. But I still think that Jake Matthews is the better pick, and I mean, whoever does wind up with him if he falls here, I think will be really lucky because I still would take Matthews over Luan.
I'd have to agree with you. Based off of skill and talent alone.
And the name. Matthews has, like, a big freaking, if you have the name Matthews, it's pretty important. I mean, these guys are Hall of Fame players, Pro Bowlers year after year after year. So
now I just had a friend of mine tweet me saying that the Buffalo Bills are now the #1 team in New York.
That's funny.
So, Chris, he may have a leg to stand on in regards to offense because the Giants are still hurting in that area, and the Jets have been hurting for years now.
To that point, actually, I think EJ Manuel tweeted, I think about just 15 exclamation points when that pick was made.
Well, here comes Goodell. Like I said, hoping it's Matthews, but seems like Lewan. Let's see. You got a bad report there. I told you, man. I thought it was going to be Jake Matthews, and that's what happened, man. I don't know what you were. Your Art Stapleton guy needs to get better information.
Hey, don't make fun of Art Stapleton.
Oh, he's great. Art Stapleton's
a legend. The first Aggie off the board. Jake Matthews protected Johnny Manziel's right side his first year when Luke Jokel was there, his junior year. Senior year, he became the left tackle and has done a brilliant job ever since. His talent alone is unrivaled by Taylor Lewan. No matter how many prospects like him, the bottom line is Jake Matthews was the better left tackle left on the board.
Yep, I agree. I think he was the best tackle. I would not have taken Taylor Lewan. I mean, obviously he has talent, but you do have to worry a little bit about his character issues and
FYI,
how committed he could be.
Week 14, that's December 8th, Monday Night Football. The Falcons will be at the Packers.
That's going to be fun.
So watch that. That's gonna, ESPN's gonna be doing some marketing for that.
And speaking of the Falcons, this pick obviously had to go down 4-12 last season. Like we said, the need for O-line was there to protect Matty Ice and for the rushing attack as well. Jake Matthews has shown he can be a really good run blocker. They were last in the NFL in rushing yards per game. Brought in Steven Jackson, thought he could be a shell of him, be a little bit of his old self, but wasn't. And Chris, week 5, Sunday, October 5th, the Atlanta Falcons and Jake Matthews visit the New York Giants.
Well, I mean, I don't know how, it's still a work in progress, I think, our pass rush. But I'm hoping, I think you can get some of these guys, some of these good pass rushers, and maybe you need to mold a little bit in the second or third round. So maybe look for the Giants to do that. I don't know. I can't justify, and they very well might do this, but I really can't justify taking a defensive lineman in the first round with all the problems that you had on offense last year, and especially with what John Mara said. The offense is broken. So you got to think this is going to be an offensive-minded draft, and you got to start with that right here.
So just to let the viewers know, at around pick 15, we're going to give it a wrap, let you enjoy the rest of the draft. Chris, Seth, I want to thank you guys for doing this. This has been fun. We still got a way to go. But looking at the Matthews family tree, Clay Matthews Sr., I mean, this is – the Matthews family football tree is ridiculous.
Yeah, there's something. Like I've said before, you can't go wrong with Matthews. I mean, I know the Casey Matthews, Clay Matthews' brother, I think, who was drafted by the Eagles, wasn't exactly as good as the others, but I think a lot of people out there think Jake Matthews is going to be just fine in the NFL. I think that's for sure.
Now, how good is it going to be, Chris, when they go against the Packers, when Jake Matthews puts his big cousin on the floor?
Oh, I know. I'm going to be watching that. That's going to be fantastic.
It's going to, I mean, Clay's going to give him a big shot just to begin with. That bull rush just to test him out. Say, hey, little cousin, we used to practice in Madden.
I want to see Clay get planted.
Yeah, I want to see that as well. I think this kid, Jake Matthews, his future is very bright. He's going to be one of those left tackles 5-6 years from now, Seth, that we're going to say, yeah, he is going to be the cornerstone for a very long time in his career if he can stay healthy.
Well, I think now that we're on to Tampa Bay, once again, this could be Johnny Manziel territory. You never know. Like I said, I picked him in my mock draft to take him. But yeah, you pleaded there. You want him so bad. But I think that this is probably Mike Evans. I didn't think he was going to make it this far. I thought someone would trade up to number 5 and take him, or maybe even Oakland stood there and took him. But looks like now the Tampa Bay, but I feel like the Buccaneers are going to take Mike Evans. I think it makes a little bit too much sense.
Now, when's the last time Mel Kiper's #1 overall quarterback, #2 overall quarterback, have still been available? This is remarkable. Not to say that he's always right, but I'm just saying he's one of the more respected guys along with Todd McShay. Seth, I'd have to agree with you. I think this might be Mike Evans. They talked about the love they had for him. And even though they expressed the love they had for Johnny Manziel as well, they did sign Josh McCown. They do like what they saw a little bit from Mike Glennon. Reports have stated maybe they want to develop him a little bit more, give him a chance. But Mike Evans and Vincent Jackson on the same team, I tweeted this earlier. When's the last time we had a team with 2 starting receivers that are 6'5", 230 pounds?
Well, that's got to be scary for the NFC South defenses. There's not much to speak of, to be honest with you.
No, the more I thought about it, my initial reaction was the Bears, but then I realized Alshon Jeffrey is not that. He's not 6'4". He's not 6'4".
He jumps like it, though. I mean, the guy can jump out of a building.
No, he can. But Mike Evans is massive. He has been compared to the man that is the starting receiver for this Buccaneers team, Vincent Jackson. It could work out. You have a guy like Vincent Jackson mentoring Mike Evans, saying, "Listen, this is how I've been successful in my career. All you have to do is model your game after that. Still stay true to your own game, but more importantly, be healthy."
Right. So are we all going to go Mike Evans here, or does anyone want to go out on a limb and say like Johnny Football or maybe Aaron Donald?
Oh, this is tough.
I'm going Evans.
I think I might go Mike Evans.
Okay. I'm going Mike Evans too.
Pick is in.
Right. Hopefully we get Goodell coming out soon.
Mind you, they were 21st in scoring. You could make the argument that Johnny Manziel is just as important as a Mike Evans would be in regards to scoring. Could implement the spread option with Doug Martin. That would be crazy for teams to try to stop. But at the end of the day, like you said, Seth, Mike Evans is massive. He's a big-time weapon. They brought in Josh McCown, Chris, who played pretty well when it was his time to come in for the Bears. Actually played more efficiently than Jay Cutler.
Yeah, I mean, he's been named the starter, right? You know, so he's gonna be the guy. You give him 2 weapons like that. I mean, as I said, I mean, it's got to be Mike Evans. You got to go with that. Commissioner should be coming out any minute now, as the pick has been in for it seems like a while.
Yeah,
I gotta just add this in here. It looks like Chris Berman has never aged a day in his life. I feel like
I know. That's not the look of a man who just got picked. So
no, it's not. He's definitely slipping down here. And Chris, I don't want to say it because I don't want to sound ridiculous live on air, but that report that came out about number 12 for our team, I don't know.
I think he's going to Minnesota. I think Manziel, because Bortles has been the guy that's been linked so long. Oh, let's take a look.
Here's the commissioner.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
And there goes Mike Evans.
And there goes the Giants' chances of getting Mike Evans. There goes anyone's chances of getting Mike Evans because he is now paired alongside Vincent Jackson. If anyone's watching, tweet me. When is the last time an NFL team had 2 starting receivers be 6'5", 230 pounds? I've never heard of that. I haven't heard of that. I just haven't.
As I was saying, we'll get a little bit more to Mike Evans. I think we did a little bit before the pick, but I think that this could be where Johnny Manziel goes because I think most people for a while have been saying that they thought Blake Bortles was going to go number 8 to Minnesota. Wow, Mike Evans is really crying there. But I think that this could be Johnny Manziel's place. I've seen some good reports of Minnesota liking him. I really do think that this could be where he goes.
But after this, right, what do you think? Where could he possibly go?
Well, Cleveland actually traded down.
Yes, they did, to number 9.
So Cleveland could still take Johnny Manziel if they want him.
There, perhaps.
And Seth, we talked.
Oh, wait a second. Oh, hold on. What is this?
Seth, I did a slideshow earlier in the year about the top fits for Johnny Manziel, and number 1 was the Minnesota Vikings.
Right, I remember that.
Adrian Peterson in the backfield. Greg Jennings can still provide not great, but very good wide receiver play. And quite frankly, you have to develop Cordell Patterson
the Browns traded up, guys.
Oh, the Browns traded up.
I was gonna say I thought they made a mistake there, but that's not a mistake.
And this could be for you know who, Seth.
Oh,
we could see Johnny Time.
This could be it.
We could see Johnny Cleveland now, as they would call him.
This could be it. Wow. Let's see. I mean, that's a big development here because I think most people thought that it was going to be a wide receiver. Cleveland was ahead of Detroit, so I don't think it's going to be Odell Beckham, who I think a lot of people thought Detroit wanted, but I don't think they're going to take defensive tackle. I mean, there's no Evans and Watkins are off the board. I mean, unless it's Taylor Lewan, I'm pretty sure that this may actually be Johnny Manziel.
Well, I guess they had good information that Minnesota was going to take him, so.
Yeah, wow, this is something right here. I mean, they moved up a pick, so maybe they wanted to just secure because, like I said, I thought Minnesota was going to take Manziel here. And so the pick is in.
And the pick is in, and we might see the biggest superstar in regards to sports on a Cleveland team since LeBron James.
Oh man,
I'm just saying
they got a 5th round pick in addition to move down a pick. The Vikings
and the Vikings can still get a quarterback. There is still a man left named Teddy Bridgewater, who's a pretty good quarterback. It may be Teddy Bridgewater who's the pick right now, for all we know. So this is very interesting here. Just to get a consensus,
that's pretty
Johnny
cheap.
Manziel, we believe, will be the pick right here.
I'm going Johnny Manziel. I don't see what else it could be. Unless they want Taylor Lewan, but I don't see why they would have thought Minnesota was going to take Taylor Lewan because they took Matt Khalil 2 years ago with their 3rd overall pick. So I think, yeah, I'm going Johnny Manziel. I really do think
they wouldn't trade up for a cornerback.
No, I don't think so.
And Seth, Chris, if you're Johnny Manziel, getting picked by the Browns 9th actually can't be a bad thing considering most of us had him getting picked 4th by the Browns.
That's true. I mean, when they traded back, I guess it stopped, maybe a free fall.
Oh, Johnny Manziel giving
the salute. What's that?
And quite frankly, Seth, if I'm Johnny Manziel, I'm not gonna be mad that I'm pairing up with Josh Gordon. I'm not mad about that at all.
And now, if they do take a quarterback here, then when they have their 2nd pick at 26, they can go wide receiver.
This has really gotten interesting now. Now you have Teddy Bridgewater maybe sitting there for a team like the Vikings who need a quarterback. Seth, like you predicted, the Arizona Cardinals, they may move up if they get an opportunity to try and get Teddy Bridgewater. Derek Carr is still sitting there. This quarterback situation, Chris, it's really taking full steam ahead.
Oh, here comes Goodell. This could be it.
Let's take a look.
Wow.
I think
corner. They just traded up for a corner.
That's why they traded back originally. That was that one rumor I saw.
Seth, how shocked are you? I do not believe in trading up for a corner. The cornerback class is actually
gotten that
deep this year.
I'm shocked. I mean, I did see some reports that Minnesota was looking into Justin Gilbert, but I mean, I think there's some other really good corners that they may be able to get at 26 later in the draft. I'm honestly shocked. I mean, Minnesota may take Johnny Manziel here too. I mean, I'm speechless. I thought that was gonna be Manziel. I really did. I mean, did you hear when you heard the J for Justin?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I was waiting for Johnny right there, but wow, that's a shocker.
This is a lot of Cleveland fans are not looking happy about this. You already see way to go Cleveland, hashtag Cleveland, and not in a good way, folks. If you follow the NFL or sports period, whenever you see the hashtag Cleveland, it's usually not good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm reading through some of these tweets. This is why the Browns are the worst team in the NFL.
Oh my!
Hey, Browns, stop playing with my heart.
Seth, we talked about the importance of the cornerback position with certain teams. This is a guy that we thought the Jets might trade up for. You know, Rex and his love of corners and the spot of corner that's empty with the Jets right now. But even with this pick, we're really shocked given the fact that Cleveland has needed a quarterback for so long.
Well, I think the most interesting development from Justin Gilbert going here is Taylor Lewan is still on the board, and I mean we're getting very close to the Giants' pick. Obviously, Ebron. I mean maybe Detroit would be the one team. Tennessee, I think they have more glaring issues than tight end, but it's looking like the Giants are going to have some nice players there on the board. I mean, we could see all three of your main targets. I keep hearing Lewan, Ebron, and Martin were your guys' targets from the start. So I think Minnesota here. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if it was Aaron Donald, but they took Sharif Floyd in the first round last year. I mean, if Johnny Manziel doesn't go here, could he go to Tennessee? Like, I don't know, man. It could get interesting. I mean, I don't want to see all this media stuff if Johnny Manziel goes to the Cowboys, so please go before 16.
This is and now we are up to the Minnesota Vikings. Seth, we talked about my slideshow, the top five fits for Johnny Manziel as a quarterback, as a prospect, and I went with the Vikings after careful analysis. Adrian Peterson in the backfield, taking hits away from him with the spread option, using Greg Jennings' ability in regards to he's still healthy for the most part. He can still provide good wide receiver play. And then you want to develop Cordell Patterson as that deep threat, as a consistent receiver, not just a big play guy. He certainly has the tools. And as we hit a commercial here, this timeline on Twitter is still ringing. A lot of Brown fans are not happy. I am seeing tweets saying, I like Hoyer, but he's not the best option for the future. So there are tweets that are paraphrasing. They're based on that. But with that said, Justin Gilbert moving up for him.
Maybe they're banking on the fact that they're going to be able to get Bridgewater later on.
It's possible, but I think that the closer you get to 26 for the Browns, and I think this is kind of the sentiment out there, is there's a lot of teams that are in the top of the second round that can look to trade up, and if the Browns are going to stay there, they may have to trade up again to get the quarterback. If it is Teddy Bridgewater, I mean, I don't think Manziel's going to fall that far, but if Manziel starts to slide, then maybe a team like the Browns decides to move up. But I don't think that staying packed at 26 is a smart plan for them, because people know that that's probably the position where they're going to look to take the quarterback, and teams are going to try to get ahead of them, whether it be Manziel, Bridgewater, or whoever. That's at least my feeling there.
Yeah. The pick is in, so hopefully when they come back from this commercial, it should be good.
And we talked about the Minnesota Vikings, their situation, lacking a quarterback. Went early with Christian Ponder. That didn't work out, as we all know. But you're looking at the Vikings, 5-10 last year, 2-3 in their division, which actually shocked me quite a bit. 23rd in passing yards per game, but they were 8th in rushing yards per game. So with that said, they certainly have a need for quarterback. Could it be Johnny Manziel? We'll see. They were also 31st in opponents' passing yards per game. So we may see another secondary pick here. They were 16th against the rush. They were able to get Linval Joseph from the former Giant in free agency, so that will help them with the rushing attack. Seth, just to get your consensus pick here, just to get you guys' consensus pick, who do you see the Vikings going with?
This is a tough one.
I think Vikings right here go Aaron Donald. I mean, it could be Manziel, but I mean, they didn't seem really that scared the Browns were going to go take him. So I don't. If they really wanted Manziel, I think they would have stood pat. So I think they're going Aaron Donald here.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's either going to be Donald or maybe Barr. That's a possibility. But I think I agree with Seth here.
I mean, it could be. I don't think it can be Taylor Lewan because they just used a first-round pick, the top 3 pick on Matt Khalil 2 years ago. So
after pick 10, we want to thank everyone for watching. After pick 10, our guys have a busy schedule, as we all know. We want to thank everyone for watching. After pick 10, you get back to watching the draft. We're going to get back to watching it. It's going to be fun, but we want to thank you for tuning in on the analysis. We hope we were able to give you what you wanted to hear during this top 10. Obviously, we knew the top 10 was going to be the most talked about portion of the draft.
And here comes the commish. Good call, Chris.
And that is
That's a good call, Chris. Didn't you? I think you called that right before right before Goodell came on.
And Anthony Barr is someone that was forgotten about due to the
Anthony Barr is a good player. I mean,
phenomenal pass rusher. Was a running back before he became an outside linebacker / pass rusher. So he has rare ability as well. Some rank him higher than Davion Clowney as just strictly a pass rusher. That's certainly needed in an era in the NFL where you have the Drew Brees, the Aaron Rodgers, the Peyton Mannings, the Tom Bradys of the world.
So I'm going to ask you guys, as a Giants fan, this question because it looks like it may become a possibility. I know that you guys have talked about it, I think, earlier on this show and on Twitter, but if Taylor Lewan and Eric Ebron are on the board, both of them, which one would you rather have?
I have to agree with Chris. I think you go with Ebron. I think you go with Ebron.
I think it makes it tougher, but I still think you have to go with that. Do I think that they are going to go with that? Yeah, maybe not. But that's what I would do.
You have to trust.
Unfortunately,
you have to trust the depth of the offensive line prospects, and you also have to trust the fact that the NFL is about scoring points, and you needed a weapon like Ebron, who many consider the second coming of Vernon Davis, athletic, just based off athleticism and talent. You need to get someone.
And here comes Roger Goodell with the Lions.
And this is our last pick. I want to thank everyone for watching.
Well, there goes your boy Eric Ebron.
Yeah, I saw something about it right before.
Ebron's off the board. Odell Beckham is still there. You still have Lewan if he's not taken at 11. But I want to thank everyone for watching. Chris, Seth, I want to thank you guys for joining.
Thanks. I'm sorry it was a little bumpy, but we'll definitely try to do a better job in the future. Thanks for watching, guys.
Have a good one.